How do you turn a city into a giant Haarp antenna? You just lay out these 5G death towers every 150 feet, and all of a sudden your city becomes a giant phased array antenna, just like Haarp. Does anybody out there know what we mean by phased array antenna? How many of you know anything about these antennas at all? It's surprising to see how many people know nothing about antennas, but they say that they're completely safe. Right now, there's a horde of physicians and scientists and doctors saying, stop the 5G. Ladies and gentlemen. And we've got some bombshell news to share with you. Something that'll scare the shit out of you, ladies and gentlemen. There is no stopping these waves being emitted by these death towers. We're going to show you the experiment that proves just that. And no matter the shielding, it can be mylar, aluminum foil, and the like. There's really no stopping what's coming through at 100%. And it's rather disturbing. We're going to get into the big news. Want to say hi to everybody out there in the chat. How you doing, Philip James, Mike Higgins, Riggett45, AJ Blunt? What's going on out there? We're live on the ScrewTube. We've got video on the left of an electrician taking apart a death tower, rendering it completely inoperable. And we've got many heroes out there participating in civil disobedience. All you got to do is sign an Antifa and, they'll never figure it out, ladies and gentlemen. In any case, these death towers are everywhere. They're cooking you. The numbers are through the roof. We've shown this video before where we're measuring the new 5G network in Lake Tahoe and then comparing that to a microwave oven, and it's worse outside than in the microwave oven, ladies and gentlemen. And so, they say that this is safe, but, it's pretty ridiculous to think that this is safe. And the way that they're setting up this death grid right now, you're going to have basically a phased array antenna for a city out there. And there's nothing worse than having these death towers lined up in unison, chirping away like a giant beacon. And they've been playing with giant antennas for years. Back in the Cold War, they used to talk about the woodpecker antenna, and people would be picking up those broadcasts from the other side of the world. Now, we want to get into this real disturbing video. We're going to narrate it because it's a 5-minute video. We're not going to play the whole thing. But essentially, you've got this guy with an AM/FM radio, and he's putting tinfoil around it. And basically what we see is that the FM is blocked out right away. The AM, basically he has to completely seal off the radio. But with the Wi-Fi, there's no stopping it. There's no stopping the Wi-Fi, which is at 2.5 gigahertz. And, a lot of people think, well, the higher the frequency band, the less it'll penetrate. But in fact, as these bands get higher, they have more energy and they do more damage. And, we've been able to run some rather interesting experiments with the EMF 390. And there's a huge amount of background radiation at the ultra low frequency and at the microwave frequency that you just can't stop. Nothing will stop it. And it seems like nothing will stop this Wi-Fi. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it runs on the same frequency as the microwave oven, 2.5 gigahertz. There's a lot to be said about what we're going to be covering here. And there's a lot to be said about, these death towers, the way they're set up, and their obvious, vulnerabilities. I think once people realize that they're being slow cooked in the city, they're gonna want to do something. In any case, we're gonna play this 2-minute video so that you can hear for yourself how the Wi-Fi penetrates the tinfoil. And we've, this might sound, rather, loony, but we were looking at videos of experiments of, what material works the best to stop, radio waves and the like. And tinfoil beats out just about everything. And, it beats Mylar, it beats, a lot of these fabrics and the like. Let's play this video so you can hear this for yourself and you can just ponder about the implications here. So just hang on and here we go.
Hey guys, let's do some experiments with shielding radio signals with aluminum foil. FM doesn't have the range of AM, but the signal comes in very clearly. Can you see that already, guys? I'm just shielding this from the window. Just this fold here from the window, and look at that effect. Wow. See? Hear that now? If I kept this side open, even one side, guys, that was getting signal.
So this is AM.
Fold this last side in half, just like I'm wrapping a present. Whereas with FM, as soon as we shielded that to the window, to the radio wave direction, almost completely blocked it. Again, we're doing Wi-Fi now, which is 2.4 gigahertz, guys. Much higher frequency than FM and AM radio waves. Much higher frequency, which would lead me to believe that this should get pretty well blocked with the short waves, even though the proximity is very close. Huh, that's weird. I could totally hear that podcast through complete foil wrap with the Wi-Fi router. Surprised that those radio, obviously those high frequency radio signals are infiltrating the aluminum foil barrier.
So let's kind of go through this again, because this is a very important principle for all of those that are concerned about electronic warfare and the like, and everybody should be. The way this death grid is being set up, everybody should be very concerned about what we're just showing you right here. So initially it starts out with an AM FM radio, and I'm not sure how many people know the difference between AM and FM radio, but in any case, the FM gets blocked out right away, and it's a higher frequency than the AM. AM has longer waves, it has a longer range than frequency modulated radio. In any case, what we saw here is that AM and FM eventually were both blocked out by this tinfoil. AM, it was more difficult. He basically had to close off the whole thing, but with FM, he just had to raise the tinfoil to the window a little bit, and it blocked out, the waves. However, with the Wi-Fi, I mean, that thing was going right through. That thing was going right through the tinfoil, and that's at 2.5 gigahertz versus, AM FM is between like 400 and 700 megahertz. So, traditionally when the frequencies go up, people think that, well, energy goes up, but the penetration goes down. They've been telling you they got to cut down all the trees so that 5G will work. It can't go through anything. It's not like classic radio waves. But what's really interesting is that Wi-Fi runs exactly at the same frequency as your microwave oven, as the magnetron in the microwave. It runs at 2.5 gigahertz as well. And there's a lot of things you could say about, taking a magnetron out of a microwave and using it like, an antenna. And, our reports are that, they were doing exactly that during Iraq to disarm IEDs. So there's a lot of, potential as far as, microwave ovens go. But in any case, what's amazing here is the range is huge. You're still being affected quite a bit, 30, 50 feet away from the oven. It traverses walls, it traverses everything. Now, in this video, they test out like just about every material you can buy on Amazon and the like. And most of it really doesn't do a whole lot when it comes to a lot of the energy coming through. They're somewhat effective at, certain bandwidths, but you just don't get absolute protection. And, whether it be the Mylar or, some of the copper, nickel, fabric, and that stuff is probably more toxic than it's worth. The tinfoil tends to work the best as far as we can see, but it isn't 100%. And that should concern everybody because, these death towers are coming everywhere and the exposure levels are going to be, like a microwave oven. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that you want to opt out of that situation. And so the question is, well, what can be done about, these death towers and the like? Some cities are getting success by going to, city council and basically, bringing up, petitions and introducing ordinances and speaking about it, getting on the news, handing out flyers. Quite a bit of success that way. We're actually even getting, a Supreme Court ruling in California that says that cities can now ban these death towers, due to health concerns, which is kind of new. The FCC way back in the day is like, you can't restrict any telecommunications, hardware due to health concerns. So anyways, there is a lot of room, to say the least, by going to your city council and trying to, take care of these death towers that way. We're seeing videos of people actually just kind of taking a monkey wrench to the works. We're seeing people, burning these things down. They're all very susceptible to lighter fluid. The cabling works as kind of like an accelerant as well. The insulation is made of rubber. It's kind of like burning tires, if you will, and they just light up like a Christmas tree. And, people are, looking at these things sideways now because they're coming up everywhere. And, essentially they're going to turn your city into a giant phased array antenna. And I don't know how many people know anything about Haarp, but, the reason that it worked the way it did is because it was a bunch of antennas set up in a grid pattern. And that grid pattern, allows them to manipulate the direction of, the energy lobes to a precise location. And that's like the whole, idea of 5G is that they can actually send out beams. You're going to have to look up beam forming, 5G to see exactly, how that works for yourselves. But it's like this, basically, and everybody is going to be targeted. Especially, those that the system doesn't like. And you can already see the censorship. You can already see, the discrimination. They're already locking up journalists and activists and the like. And so you can imagine that, they're going to be using these death towers as silent weapons to target people. And in fact, probably punish entire neighborhoods, kind of like Total Recall. If you kind of step out of line, these death towers will tell you how to think. And that's really the danger of, what's being deployed here is that there's just, unlimited potential in terms of conditioning people. And I think, you'll understand real quick that, you're getting beamed and who are you going to call? You run to the authorities, they're going to laugh at you. They'll probably, Section 8 your ass right into an institution and nobody will hear from you again. So you're, yeah, there's not much you can do. And you can't even really effectively block these things out, despite what you might think, despite what you might have heard. We've done extensive testing with the EMF 390. As you can imagine, we're probably pretty high up on the list. And most people are taking precautionary measures these days. And what we've discovered is that, you basically have to seal off a room. It's like light. And if you can imagine, being outside at night and there's, some kind of spotlight and you want to create an enclosure that's dark, you'd be surprised, just what one light source, what kind of, trouble one light source can cause as far as trying to contain, the environment. And these death grids are just going to make it impossible to basically maintain a serene environment. Here's another video, or another look at that video, where they run the experiment, Wi-Fi on, Wi-Fi off. They try to plant some seeds and watch it grow, and the Wi-Fi is a killer, man. It's a microwave oven. They just put a different little box around it, and they called it something different. Instead of microwave, they called it Wi-Fi. And people are like, cool, man, I'm going to have this shit on all the time. And it's incredible. It's incredible. How's everybody out there in the chat? Is anybody out there? Anybody care that you're getting fried like Kentucky Fried Chicken out there? Slow killed, dosed, and the like. And this is part of the programming. This is part of the Georgia Guidestones, the Agenda 21. And the sheeple are just, so gullible out there. They're like, oh, yeah, I need this to download movies or to do some FaceTime or whatever, and they're just getting nuked. And all the studies are super conclusive. I mean, this stuff attacks your nervous system, your immune system. We're electro chemical creatures, and any kind of modulated impulse on the nervous system is going to have a real adverse effect. And the studies on electromagnetic fields and the immune system, white blood cells, leukemia, I mean, that's well known. And then there's the whole cancer thing, because it's mutagenic, and despite what they say, this stuff does cause cancer, and that was proven beyond any reasonable doubt in the NTP report. And that's the National Toxicological Program, NTP, whatever it stands for. And that was very conclusive. I don't know what the video guy is doing over there. But, yeah, there's every reason to be, concerned. And again, with this test here, yeah, beamforming. Go check that stuff out, ladies and gentlemen. But with this test here with the radio and the smartphone, it's pretty concerning, because the tinfoil works well on the radio waves, AM and FM, but it doesn't do anything for the Wi-Fi. And what we've been seeing on the EMF 390 tells us that there's, a lot of background radiation that nobody can stop and nobody's talking about. And on the ultra low and on the Wi-Fi microwave spectrum. And there's just so much of it out there, probably from satellites and the like, that are just coming through. And, you're getting dosed on top of the death towers. And there's just no opting out. It's like being in the microwave oven, being, slow cooked without anybody really telling you what's going on. And that's why, people really should be concerned, and people should, kind of consider, what's appropriate when it comes to, this deployment of weaponized death towers. If people were as, organized for death towers like they are for, the Second Amendment, I think we could get a lot more done. But people stay at home when they should really be out there, kind of like at their city hall, when they should be out there at their Verizon store, like it's a riot, it's the revolution, because, complacency kills. And if people just, stare at these things, from their window. They're getting cooked. And even if you put up the aluminum, the mylar, you get the, the special cloth, you're still getting fried. I mean, everybody's got to go into that radio free zone, wherever it is, Virginia or wherever, West Virginia, and, and hunker down, because otherwise, you're getting cooked. And look, the reason that we do these broadcasts over and over again is because, people need to be talking about this, and nobody's really talking about this. In fact, if you do a search right now on Twitter, you do 5G and look in the videos, you will see nothing negative. You can scroll forever. You won't see not one concern. I mean, go pick a subject that's like that, where it's completely sanitized and controlled, where, you just don't see any type of, opposing views. No opposing views on Twitter when it comes to, certain topics at all. And 5G is one of them, and you have to wonder why. And look, like we said at the beginning of this broadcast, there's an army of, physicians and scientists and the like, petitioning governments around the world to stop the deployment of 5G. And it's just like, they're just talking to a wall. Nobody's listening, and the media, for the most part, is just completely silent when it comes to genuine concerns here, when everybody should be talking about this. Because when we look at the deployment right now, I mean, it's massive already in, mid-sized towns and the like. And, we've got Philip James out there who's doing some remarkable videos. We've got, a short compilation of the clips. But even out there in, mid-sized towns and the like, I mean, you're getting some major death tower grids. Okay, the video guy is fired for the 10th time out there, and it's not this. Where is the video guy? Well, we'll find that video eventually out there. But you've probably seen the deployment for yourselves in your towns. Not just these militarized looking, super death towers, but now you've got these death pods everywhere, beaming shit at you, tracking you, with your phone in real time. And the way they're being set up every 150 feet, turns them into an array. And arrays are much worse. That's like, that's like the checkmate. I don't know how many people have seen or have played chess, but there's like the fool's chess. There's like, certain moves you can do that just, messes up like, the whole game, right? And having, a line of antennas anywhere, even if it's just like one street in your town, all of a sudden that thing is like, broadcasting in unison, and they can start, modulating that, manipulating those energy waves in ways you can't even imagine. We don't even want to begin to describe, the phenomenon. But you should look into what phased arrays are, not just, on a MIMO kind of, rectenna, but, whole, setup of antennas. And this is bad news any way you look at it. It's already bad news. It's been bad news, for quite some time. And now they're just in full lockdown mode. They don't want people talking about it. And, any type of concern is basically shut down, censored, and replaced with, with just fluff. And I don't even want to talk about the television, the devilism out there these days. But I mean, it's just turned into mush. I mean, just looking at it, makes you stupid. And in any case, most of the sheeple just aren't prepared for what's really going on. They're not prepared for anything beyond, lies and disinformation. Because if people actually knew what was going on out there, they'd probably, flip out, run for the hills, or, it'd be, martial law, to say the least. In any case, what more can you say about these death towers that you don't know already? And, we could probably, be here all day. But, 5G is going to take on many different forms, many different spectrums. But, everything up to, the 3.5 gigahertz is going to be very dangerous, to say the least. And we can't imagine, what the 50, 60 gigahertz is going to look like or feel like out there. Then there's the Elon Musk Death Stars, the Starlink setup that's coming online here pretty soon. That's going to be beaming everybody, 24/7 from space. The video guys, where is that? In any case, ladies and gentlemen, video on the left basically is super interesting in terms of how people are accessing these new death towers, these new mini pods, and the like. And basically, it just takes a little know-how, nothing too complicated to pull it apart, according to the experts out there. Now, you're going to have to reference what your city ordinance is if you have, the right to do something like that. If not, you probably just want to protest. But people are, lighting these things up, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sure it won't be long before we're reporting, some kind of improvised, explosive or some kind of, grenade launcher or something taking these things out. Because if you actually knew what these things were, this would be your new hobby. And, it looks like, they're all, susceptible to heat. They got to have these ventilations there, which is, just another entry point. I think that, people will probably just end up just using lighter fluid and lighting these things up. Looks like the cabling is insulated with rubber, so these things will go up like a Christmas tree. But that's not really anything anyone can recommend on air, obviously. Civil disobedience has always been like one of those Antifa things, so you just kind of want to sign it Antifa out there, and that way people can start looking in the right direction. Any case, what else can you say, really? I mean, these death towers are everywhere, and people should look into the whole phased array thing, because that's rather interesting as well. When you start lining up antennas and turning them into giant repeaters and beacons and the like, it's a whole different type of phenomenon. And the whole thing is just real creepy. These things are no good. They got to hide them from you. And they got to censor, all the news, even like the cancer clusters at schools. And, what kind of people puts these towers, on school property? And that isn't the strangest thing that we've ever reported. I mean, we've actually reported on frack wells on school property. It's just like, how low can these people go? Can you imagine being in high school and there's the oil well right next to the death tower, and they're like, yeah, drink the fluoride and take your vaccines. And don't worry if everybody on TV looks like the devil. I mean, could you imagine it being that whacked? Well, it is now. It is now, ladies and gentlemen. And there's really not a whole lot you can do unless, you eliminate the source of this radiation. I mean, we've been looking at countermeasures and the like, and, tinfoil really does work the best, and it's probably the best value. And it does have, quite a bit of effect, but it isn't stopping everything. And, we're seeing on the EMF 390, huge amounts of, ultra low frequency, from like 0 to, what is it, like 200 or 300 megahertz, real low transmissions. It's probably like, dirty electricity and the like, but it's probably other things too, and it's just traversing everybody at power ranges that are concerning, to say the least. There's almost more of that rogue energy traveling around than there is like commercial traffic, and it's like, where is this stuff coming from? I kind of feel like we've stumbled upon another hidden eugenics program, because most meters won't pick it up. Most meters are basically have a smaller range than the EMF 390, which does 0 to 10 gigahertz. And if you have one, you go into the RF spectrum mode and you just start browsing the different spectrums there, and you'll see there's like all this traffic in frequency ranges that you wouldn't even expect. Now that was the tri-field meter, and that one isn't bad. It's just not quite like the EMF 390. I don't know if we've still got a video of that somewhere, but and here's the acoustic meter, which I think is cool, but it really doesn't give you a whole lot of information on the on the screen. And the EMF 390 just kind of really tells you all sorts of interesting things. And I don't mean just to sit here and talk about it, but we've done a lot of research with it. We've had a lot of time to play with it and get feedback from people. And everybody should be concerned, because these death towers aren't ain't no joke. And I think most people are gonna want to see something done one way or the other. And we just happened to stumble upon this video where this guy's like, Patriot taking down 5G street lamp, and you're seeing these things everywhere now. And the guy just opens it up, and he just basically pulls what looks like some kind of I don't know, transformer or something. But not sure we can really provide a link to it, but I don't know, it seemed real simple enough. He just pulled out the white thing, and you probably want to wear rubber gloves or something like that. But in any case, the shielding, I think the big news story of this broadcast is that the shielding isn't blocking everything. And, even if you I wrapped the EMF 390 pretty much in tinfoil, multiple layers, and, that didn't seem to work. And according to what other people have experimented with, the tinfoil works better than, most of the stuff out there. And while mitigation is one of the steps that people should be pursuing right now, trying to limit their exposure as well as block out sources nearby. Most people now have a death tower a couple blocks away, a neighbor with super powerful Wi-Fi and the like, and it's so invasive that it becomes a concern. Now, we've seen some kind of fabric that blocks, a small range, say, maybe 300 megahertz to 5 gigahertz. And it's really expensive. It's like, $100 a square yard, basically, Naturel, RELL fabric. And that stuff seems kind of promising. I'd love to know, what their secret sauce is, and make it more affordable. I think we'll have to look into that. But I think, people are going to want to get into clothing and, EMF apparel as these things, as the situation becomes worse. And there's really no, putting that two different ways. And maybe, a lot of people out there are just going to roll their eyes and be like, I don't feel a thing right now. But anyways, I get the feeling like, we've overdone this broadcast already. I do want to say, what's going on out there, everybody in the audience. How you doing? If you're joining us late, be sure to check this out on replay on demand. Check out our website, stfnreport.com. We're on Facebook, which is reaching more people than ScrewTube right now. So if you're on Facebook, check us out, STFN Reloaded over there. I want to thank everybody that's doing their part. I've seen people mirroring. I'd like to see everybody start a page somewhere, on ScrewTube or Facebook, dress it up, and be consistent, and mirror the content every day. By creating a blockchain, we can get around some of the censorship. And we've had some videos on 5G on the Facebook reach 3, 4, 500,000, which is hard to do these days when it's really decent information. It used to be easy to put out videos that would get 20, 30 million views. Now it's like impossible. And look for yourself. Go to Twitter right now, type in 5G, search videos, and watch how you have to scroll forever, and you'll never see anything bad about 5G. Yet there's like an army of doctors, physicians, scientists right now that are, trying to stop it. And obviously, that should that should make everybody a little suspicious. But we truly covered quite a few things here in this broadcast. If you're joining us late, check it out from the beginning. Like and share. Feel free to mirror. And if you want to help us reach more people, check us out at patreon.com/STF News. Buy the video guy a beer. He's gonna need it because his ass is getting fired, ladies and gentlemen. And check out these death towers that are beaming you like the Starship Enterprise. Boom, bitches. You're just out there like cattle grazing in the pasture, waiting for the slaughterhouse. Moo. And just wait. I mean, these things will tell you how to think before long. They'll be talking to you in your own inner voice and planting ideas like Inception out there, beaming you if you don't comply. You'll get trained in real quick, and people should be taking these things down one way or the other. City council or civil disobedience. Don't get on that bus, bitches. Get off that bus. Get off this Route 66 while you still have a chance. That's it for this broadcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Till the next time, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.